half a day conference एक दिन र ट्युटोरियल बाँकी दिन ट्युटोरियल हुन्छ त्यसको लागि पनि प्रेजेन्टेसन्सहरु कसैको इन्ट्रेस्ट छ भने चाहिँ सबमिट गर्नु हुँदा हुन्छ त्यसको लागि npNOG कम्युनिटी अथवा मलाई कन्ट्याक्ट गर्नुभयो भने आई वुड बी रियली देयर इज अ प्रोग्राम कमिटी एज वेल किजुस दिव्य पनि प्रोग्राम कमिटीमा हुनुहुन्छ सो उनीहरुको मार्फत चाहिँ प्रोग्राम कमिटीमा यु विल बी गाइडेड अन सबमिटिङ योर प्रेजेन्टेसन फर सानो प्रोग्राम So यति भन्दै so again I would like to welcome everyone to this session and then thank as well as हाम्रो closing session त छैन के अरे so I would also like to thank everyone for attending this as well as participating this and hope this program brings some positive insight to the routing security that we all are working on and we all are interested in त्यति भन्दै अब routing security मा ROA implementation RPKI IRRD अथवा चाहिँ RRDP को implementation हरुमा यसमा नेपालमा के गर्नुपर्छ भन्ने कुरामा पनि डिस्कसन र अहिलेसम्म भएका एक्टिभिटिजहरुलाई पनि हुन्छ भन्दै सो आई विल लीव द फ्लोर टु मिस्टर आफ्ताब सिद्दिकी फर हिज keynote presentation. Aftab, over to you.
Thank you, Rupeshda. Namaskar to everyone. I can see some of my friends online. Thank you so much for the invite. I wish I could be there with you. Well, we are doing it in virtual setting, so it's fine. But Kathmandu is such a nice place. I would love to be there once again soon. But right now, I'm here based in Sydney. We are very much open right now. We don't have the COVID situation. Hopefully, things will improve in South Asia. And Nepal and other neighboring countries soon. So I will be talking about something related to security. Of course, I work for Internet Society and I have been leading the project called MANRS, which is focusing on the routing security side. But let's start from the bigger picture and then move into the routing security. Let me start sharing my screen. Please let me know if I'm sharing the right screen. I hope this is the right screen because then, right. So the point is the collaborative security, how we can collaborate with each other in order to secure the internet we are using together. Rupeshda mentioned one important thing, that everybody is using internet, and we were watching the internet traffic in Nepal IX as well. It was going up and up on monthly basis. When the COVID started early in February and March, the traffic was hitting its peak, and all of a sudden now it's a new normal that all the traffics are going up. So it's good that people have access to the internet, but it means that we have to make sure that the internet we are all using are secure. So to make that happen, we need to understand one thing. Internet is open, and of course it's interdependent. It's not like that there's one organization who's running the whole internet. It is dependent on many players, no matter how big or small you are. Of course, if you are big, you have more responsibility, but even if you are small, you have a similar kind of responsibility. If you look at the diagrams, there are too many interconnected networks, and if you are interested in the number of networks, there are around 70,000 networks, and there are a few hundreds now in Nepal. So all those are connected and part of the internet. To be part of this global ecosystem, you have to make sure that you do the right things. So you may have to make sure that you are following the best practices and things like that. So it's not like that someone up in the internet tier is looking after the security of the whole internet. No, it is the responsibility of every entity that have to make sure that they are following the best practices. And if you look at this diagram, you can see, and most of you are part of the service provider sector and network technology. Every layer, every step of the this ecosystem, you have to be aware of the vulnerabilities and the attack vectors. It could be on the application layer. It could be on, I mean, somebody can cut your fiber. I come from the South Asian side as well. I was born and bred in Karachi. We always had this problem of somebody cutting our fiber. And I think it's still a common problem in many parts of the South Asia. So that's a physical threat. But other than that, we still have threats on the application layer, on the network layer, and on everything you're using to be connected on the internet, whether it is DNS or NTP, or if you try to put it in a nutshell, the routing itself. But what we have learned in last 30 plus years, because BGP has been part of our life for that many years. Of course, the internet was not the internet of today, 30 years ago, but what we are using now, it is still based on the same principle, on the same protocol. But what we have learned that it gives you enough flexibility to make certain arrangements and make sure that you follow, and if you follow the right principles, you can secure your infrastructure. But all these principles are based on your participation. It's not like that I implement something and then expect that everything will be resolved. No, I have to make sure or convince you, who is my peer, that you implement the same thing. If you look at the diagram, there's a jigsaw puzzle. Every piece has to connect with each other to make a complete picture. If you want to make a complete secure internet, then you have to make sure that every piece is connected to each other. Well, we have heard this term. I mean, I've been hearing it since I graduated like 15 years ago, cybersecurity, right? It hasn't changed, right? But the way we approach cybersecurity has changed dramatically. The cybersecurity was the term saying, okay, fine, it's just secure the internet. No, it's not like securing the internet. There are so many pieces you have to secure. You cannot just have one big giant firewall in front of your internet device and everything will be resolved. It doesn't work like that. So the internet is based on people. It is based on applications. It is based on hardware devices. So you have to make sure that you teach the people. You have to make sure the devices you use are capable enough to manage the security you are willing to put into it. And then the application are you using, you have to make sure that they are not vulnerable as well. So there are too many pictures you have to connect with. And if you look in the middle here, this is, I would say, this is the regulator or the government. You can't just say that, we will do everything. We don't need support from the regulator, or we don't need support from the government. Sometimes you do need support from the government and the regulator. So you have to make sure that they are part of the picture. They are not, they don't run. Sometimes they do, but they don't run infrastructure, but they are part of the infrastructure. So you have to be involved in what is happening. They need to see the problems so that they can address it as well. Collaboration and coordination, as I said, network it's interdependent on everybody. So you can't just make a decision on your own and say, okay, everything will be resolved. You have to have public-private partnerships. It's public-private. When I say private entities are the service providers, but the regulators and the government, they are the public sector. They have to engage with the private sector. They have to understand what is the problem these service providers are facing, and they are trying to resolve on themselves. Can they help in some way or the other to make those decisions simple for them? We have to provide technical assistance. Not everyone. When I graduated, I didn't know how to configure BGP, because what you learn on in books is slightly different. Well, at times very different from what it is happening in the service provider sector. I learned it through people like, I still remember people like Rupesh who came to through npNOG many years ago, and Kabindra, who's also on the call, who used to teach us all these routing security techniques back in the days. So we learned it from the people who were doing it better than us, or I would say they knew it, or they learned it on the ground. So we have to make sure that we provide the assistance, the technical assistance to everyone, so that the knowledge sharing doesn't stop. At sometimes we have to, I'll come to this one, the international law enforcement, because sometimes incident happens which is beyond your geographical locations, and you have to rely on certain bodies which can take decisions on your behalf. If somebody's trying to hijack your prefix, well, of course you can make hue and cry, but it's not going to solve anything unless you approach someone. So you can't, and as a private service provider can't do that. That is the responsibility of the public entity. Well, as it says, everything is nice, but how does this look like in practice, right? For a service provider, for a network engineer, everything what I have said, well, they can say, oh, I know everything. Okay, just tell me what should I do now? Here comes the practical solution, right? The routing problem. Let's talk about the routing, because I said this is what my focus area is. BGP is based on unverified trust. As I said, it's been there for more than 30 years. When it was designed, it was not designed to be used for the internet we are using today. It was for the trusted entities, for universities and for research institutes. And for defense institute as well in US. They were using it to share routing information between trusted entities. But today, 70,000 of them are there, and you can't just trust every one of them. And we have learned that it is not the right way to trust everyone. So there is no built-in validation in it. You cannot verify who is the legitimate owner of which route or which prefix. So you have to have external processes to verify this information. And then, of course, the lack of reliable data. So you have to, on which data you have to rely. There's so much data and a lot of garbage available that it is very hard to make sure that what data is credible. It's the problem is, you must have heard Jeff Houston talking about BGP. He has been researching on the BGP and the internet and the other routing protocols for many years. And he's been saying a lot of things about how broken the internet is. But what we see today is internet is working. So it's, of course, there is some brokenness in it, but it is still working. So it's not that gloomy situation. We still can fix it. It's not that a big problem. But what he has said, the internet is now busted, and to be perfectly frank, blah, blah, blah. So this is what he said for one of the Australian newspaper, because he's considered as the father of the internet in Australia, because he was part of the Telstra team who actually deployed internet here. So he is responsible for the internet which we are using today. But he is also responsible for a lot of standards and protocol which we can use to protect the internet. He's saying is very broken. So let's talk about those. Okay, just for the interest of time, let me go a little bit faster. A big chunk of internet has been, it's as I say, there are 70,000 networks, right? And there are a lot of hostile networks in those 70,000. They would like to sniff your traffic. They would like to hijack your traffic. They would like to do all bad sort of things, because maybe this is their business model, or maybe they are sponsored by state actors or anything. I don't know. We can't make a judgment call on that, man. But it's not a great news for a network engineer. It's not a great news for a regulator. It's not a great news for a service provider. That okay, I'm getting into the business where so many threats are there. If you try to put all these threats in boxes, you will find out that most of these threats can be resolved. Most of, not all of them, most of these threats can be resolved by two simple processes. Number one is called filtering, another one is called source address validation. So I'm not going to talk about the source address validation at this point, because it is not related to routing on the internet. It is related to what you can do on your infrastructure. So let's focus on the filtering part. So the filtering part is that if you are running a network, you have to make sure that you only announce what you are allowed to by your respective RIR. And in our region for Nepal, that is APNIC. So you are not supposed to announce something which you have not received from the RIR or from the Internet Registry, which is APNIC. If you do one step, and the other one is you do not accept anything which the community has considered as something which is wrong. I'll explain what wrong is in just a bit. So let's talk about what's happening in South Asia. So, of course, India being the largest country in the region, they have the biggest chunk of the address space, and of course the ASN in the region. But the next we see is Bangladesh, and then Nepal comes a bit later. But it's still, there are a lot of service provider and the ASN in Nepal. So you, as I said, it doesn't matter how big and small you are, your responsibility is as big as anybody else in the whole routing system. So looking at the number of incidents happening in South Asia in last, this is for last 30 days. So in last 30 days in South Asia, there were 1 misorigination, 1 route leak, and 28 bogon announcement. So route misorigination is, for example, Nepal Telecom has AS number 1234, and they are only allowed to use one prefix, which is 192.168.0.0, which is a private number, but I'm just giving you for example, 192.168.0.0/24. And somehow I started announcing that prefix from Sydney. It means I am hijacking Nepal Telecom's prefix. So this is route misorigination. Origin was supposed to be 1234, AS number 1234, but now the origin is my ASN, which is different from Nepal Telecom. This is route misorigination. Route leak is slightly different. Like, and there are 7 categories of route leak. There is an RFC. There's a whole RFC which identify all the route leaks. And one of the route leak is you are still going to the destination, but the destination is going through some hostile network. So let's say from Nepal, you want to reach, let's say Pakistan, right? It's a destination in Karachi. It's not a very big route, but somehow you are going all the way from Nepal to Delhi to Singapore and then Hong Kong, and then coming back and hitting Karachi. You are not supposed to. There was a direct route somehow from Nepal, Delhi, then Fujairah, and then Karachi. But somehow somebody leaked the information and rerouted it and took you from a different route, and on that route they started sniffing your packet and sniffing your traffic. Thankfully, most of the traffic is now encrypted, but still they can get a lot of information from it. So this is wrong. This shouldn't happen. So this is one kind of leak. There are 6 other categories of ad. So you can review that. Bogon is the IP addresses which are not supposed to be on the routing table. For example, the addresses which are not being allocated by the RIRs, the addresses which are reserved for private use, the addresses which are reserved for documentation purpose only. So unfortunately, in South Asia, there are 28 of them in the last 30 days. So we need to figure that out, that how it is happening. But the other things are routing completeness, which is the IRR data, which is the internet routing information data in the RIR databases, which is for APNIC, and the RPKI information, how many route object authorization, route origin authorization objects has been created in the South Asian region. So there are around 56% valid ROAs in the region and only 1% invalid. So if I look at the South Asian region in the history from last December 2019 to December 2020, things are improving, thankfully, to many people who are on the call today. Rupesh, Da, Ram, Kabindra, Dibya, they all have been working very hard in the region, not just for Nepal. So things are going looking better. So number of incidents are going down. Of course, culprits are going down. Routing completeness is going up. And the best thing is RPKI implementation is the ROA adoption is going up as well. So the state of routing security in Nepal, just for this month, only one incident and just a bogon announcement. It could be just a mistake, but the best thing I see is the ROA adoption. It is going 89%, and only 10% haven't created the ROA. So this is amazing. Thanks to the effort of all the people who have done it. This is really very good. And if you look at the history, I mean, it's pretty evident. In December 2019, the ROAs were very, very low. I mean, it's still high as compared to the neighboring countries, but there was a margin, and you can see multiple jumps happening. And now it is it has to go a little bit up, and it will be touching 100% like Bhutan in your neighbor. So you just have to meet them quickly. So this is I was trying to highlight 89% is there, 10% unknown means people have not created it, and 1% invalid. This is the very bad thing. But sometimes what happens is people create ROAs and then they forget about it. So it's just about reaching out to them, say, hey, something is wrong, can you fix it? And they most likely will fix it. That's what I have seen. This is the list of those who have not created ROAs. This is not something, it's not a naming or shaming. It is just giving you the list that, hey, if you see your AS number in this list, please go create ROA. Maybe this will help my friends from Nepal to convince others that it's not that difficult. You can do it. It's simple clicks there. The list is long, of course, and 2 pages, but anything after, if your AS number is not part of this list, it means you are 100%. So WLink Nepal is 98%. After this, everyone is 100%. So those who are lying between 98% and 35%, I think it is just a matter of looking at how many routes you are advertising and then going in APNIC the portal and fixing it. It shouldn't be a big task. So and Ram and Rupesh Da can help you with that quite quickly. So just going towards the end, one thing I would like to highlight in my career, it's been almost 13, 14 years now. I can tell you one thing. I was part of a larger service provider sector in Pakistan. Your cybersecurity strategy is not complete unless you talk about the routing security. You can put as many firewalls as you want, as I mentioned earlier, but you have to focus on the routing security as well. Don't look at the application level security. Of course, that is important. Of course, ransomware is the most important problem these days, but It's not going to help you if somebody hijack your prefixes outside your country, and you will not be able to get the traffic, and your traffic is rerouted to somewhere else. It's not going to help you at all. So it's not that you can fix application layer with an with a good application firewall. You have to focus on the routing side as well. You have to build a threat intelligence. You have to have a view of what is happening on the internet. We provide MANRS site, provide observatory. You can have a look at that. There are so many public databases which you can use to gather the information. Make sure you audit your routing configuration. I still like to do CLI based configuration, right? If you don't have Ansible playbooks available, but make sure that you go and verify your configuration, have an audit weekly or monthly. Somebody, a senior in the hierarchy, is looking at the configuration and say why that configuration is there. So you have to have a process there. It's not the network engineers in the organization who has to look at the routing security. I think it is the responsibility of every department who understands the routing security. It's not network engineers like to do routing security. No, if they don't do routing security, they don't follow the best practices, you will not be able to sell the good packages. So the sales should learn routing security as much the network engineers as well. Because what happens at the end, a reputational damage. I put this here. Of course, it's been many years now. It happened in 2008. But if you Google PTCL and YouTube, you will find thousands and thousands of pages talking about the incident which happened in 2008, and we are in 2020. It's been almost 12 years, but that incident is been there. So don't make a mistake which can give a reputational damage for your organization forever. It's not going to wipe away. Nothing goes away from the internet. So this is, I just wanted to talk about that. When you talk about the internet security or the cyber security, please focus on all the layers of the security. It's not one part of the security, it is the whole package. And the package can only be completed if you have the right players. And the right players are everyone: network engineer, the higher management, the sales, or the pre-sales, and the project management. They have to be on the same table, understanding what the network engineers are trying to do. And that's all from my end. If you have any question, please.
Thank you, Aftab. So any question from anybody? You can just raise a hand or just...
Or you can reach out to me, because I really have to jump off and start another call. So
Sure. So if anybody has any question, maybe you can send an email to Aftab, or send me an email, or send Ram an email with a question. Thank you very much, Aftab, for a very insightful presentation. And I think a lot of us is had a good opportunity to understand the situation, and thank you for giving the perspective of South Asia and Nepal as well. Good to know that we are at around 98% RPKI deployment. But let's see. With this community engagement, I see that 100% is not very far from today. So with help from all the colleagues in this event, as well as from the regulator side, as well as Telecom and everyone, we'd like to thank you, and we'll give you a commitment that we'll reach 100% very soon.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Aftab. So with this, I think हाम्रो प्रोग्राममा अब अगाडि बढौँ होला. So यो प्रोग्रामबाट I think अघि आफ्ताबले भन्नुभएको जस्तो रामजीले पनि धेरै पुश गरिराख्नु भएको छ, इन्डिभिजुअली कल गरिराख्नु भएको छ. कतिवटा आइएसपीहरू अथवा कतिवटा सर्भिस प्रोभाइडर्सहरू अथवा ब्याङ्क्सहरूको नेटवर्कमा कुनै पनि सहयोग चाहिएमा I think Ramji is always there, and npNOG community as well as we are always there. I think a little bit of a push might also be required from regulator side. बिजेजीको बाट पनि किनभने कतिवटा आइएसपीहरू त्यसमा लिस्टमा मैले देखाएको थिएँ जुन कि चाहिँ probably dormant स्टेटमा छ अहिले, अनि त्यसले गर्दाखेरि नेपालको 100% पुग्ने चान्सेस चाहिँ अलिकति त्यतातिर पनि हुन्छ. So we'll soon very soon reach out to you, Bijayji. With this, I think first session को चाहिँ will end the first session, and I leave the mic to Ms. Ramkrishna for the next session, which will be a more panel discussion. And I hope that the panel discussion ma धेरै interaction र राम्रो questions हरु राम्रो discussions होस् भन्ने को लागि चाहिँ धेरै शुभकामना दिन्छु. I leave the mic to Ramkrishna ji or Subhashi, who's moderating it. So anybody of between you.
धन्यवाद रुपेश सर. सुभाष सर.
ओके, थ्याङ्क यू राम सर. मैले चाहिँ फ्लोर लिएँ प्यानल डिस्कसनको लागि. म ढिलो नगरिकन डिरेक्टली प्यानल डिस्कसनमा जम्प गर्न चाहन्छु. हाम्रो प्यानल डिस्कसन चाहिँ 1 घन्टाको समय निर्धारण गरेका छौँ हामीले, र यो बिचमा चाहिँ हामीले अहिले उठेका कुराहरूलाई चाहिँ हामीले गर्छौँ. र आफ्ताबले मलाई धेरै सजिलो बनाइदिइसक्नु भएको छ, किन भन्दाखेरि ब्याकग्राउन्ड पर्सपेक्टिभ नेपालको कन्टेक्स्टमा दिइसक्नु भएको छ र उहाँले धेरै कुराहरू कम्प्रिहेन्सिभली प्रेजेन्ट पनि गरिसक्नु भएको छ. अब फर्स्टली अब प्यानल डिस्कसनमा जानुभन्दा अगाडि म प्यानलिस्टको सर्ट इन्ट्रोडक्सन दिन चाहन्छु. हामीसँग विजय कुमार रोय सर हुनुहुन्छ, जो चाहिँ डिरेक्टर हुनुहुन्छ नेपाल टेलिकम्युनिकेसन अथोरिटीको. विजय सर, सर क्यान यु क्यान ओके, थ्याङ्क यू सर. राम सर इज देयर. मैले फेरि इन्ट्रोड्युस गराइनँ, म्यानर्सको फेलो, उहाँको नयाँ परिचय अहिलेको. Bikash Shrestha sir is there, who is representing Nepal Telecom as a network department lead. Bikash sir. Bikash, okay, thank you.
Namaste.
Yasmine Bhattarai from NCell, who is representing as a security department lead. Yasmine ji. Yeah, is there. And Manoj Karnikar from Himalayan Bank as a network system department lead. Okay, I think Manoj sir will be joining us soon here. Okay, म प्यानल डिस्कसनमा चाहिँ गएँ. राम सर, मनोज सरबाट केही आएको छ मेसेजेस?
जोइन गर्दै हुनुहुन्छ एकैछिनमा सर, जोइन गर्दै हुनुहुन्छ.
ओके, हामी अब प्यानल डिस्कसनमा जाउँ. अब अफ्ताबले धेरै कुराहरू प्रेजेन्ट गरिसक्नु भएको छ, जसबाट एउटा चाहिँ कम्प्रिहेन्सिभली के कुरा लिन सकिन्छ भन्दाखेरि देयर आर लट अफ इन्सिडेन्सेस. र राउटिङको सन्दर्भमा हेर्ने हो भने राउटिङ सेक्युरिटीको पर्टिकुलरली त्यसलाई चाहिँ हामीले कम्प्रिहेन्ड गरेर हेर्ने हो भने चाहिँ त्यसमा धेरै खालका इन्सिडेन्ट्सहरू भएको देखिएको छ. जस्तै फर इक्जाम्पलको लागि प्रिफिक्स हाइज्याकिङ, राउट लिकेज, आउटेज, ट्राफिक स्निपिङ, स्पुफिङ, डस अट्याक, a lot of them like BGP hijack, BGP leak, DDoS attack, यस्ता खालका इन्सिडेन्सेसहरू चाहिँ भइरहेको छ, जुन चाहिँ हाम्रो नेप्लिज कन्टेक्स्टमा पनि धेरै जसो चाहिँ इन्सिडेन्ट्सहरू भइरहेको हामीले चाहिँ पढिरहेका छौँ र हामीले देखि पनि रहेका छौँ. र मेरो फर्स्ट पार्टमा चाहिँ के हुन्छ भन्दाखेरि कस्ता खालका इन्सिडेन्ट्सहरू चाहिँ हामीले फेस गरिरहेका छौँ र के यो इन्सिडेन्ट्सहरूलाई चाहिँ ह्यान्डल गर्नको लागि के हामी साँच्चै क्यापेबल छौँ त भन्ने मेरो फर्स्ट क्वेसन चाहिँ मैले यो पस्कन चाहेँ. यो क्वेसन चाहिँ मैले हाम्रो विकास शर्मा चाहिँ मैलेबाट चाहिँ म सुरु गर्न चाहन्छु.
हेलो सबैजनालाई नमस्ते है. डेफिनेटली अब हाम्रो नेपालको चाहिँ हाम्रो रामकृष्ण सर भयो, हाम्रो npNOG टिम्सहरूलाई चाहिँ एकदमै धेरै धेरै धन्यवाद दिन चाहन्छु. उहाँले चाहिँ अब कन्टिन्युसली लास्ट धेरै वर्षदेखि चाहिँ यो राउटिङ सेक्युरिटीको चाहिँ वर्कसपदेखि लिएर धेरै कुराहरू चाहिँ ट्रेनिङदेखि लिएर वर्कसपहरू दिइराख्नु भएको छ है. र डेफिनेटली अब नेपालको कन्टेक्स्टको कुरा गर्दाखेरि अघि नै हाम्रो अफ्ताबले पनि धेरै कुराहरू भन्नुभएको छ. अब हाम्रो आरपिकेआई पनि भ्यालिड अलमोस्ट 89% छ होइन. र फर्स्ट स्टेप नै हाम्रो आरओए जुन साइनिङहरू छ होइन, आरपिकेआईहरू छ, त्यसबाटै हामीले चाहिँ अब डेफिनेटली स्टार्ट गर्नुपर्ने हुन्छ र हामीले सक्छौँ. डेफिनेटली वी आर क्यापेबल अफ डुइङ द्याट.
Okay, can you share some type of incidents that you have faced at recent, if that's possible for me? Then हजुरले फेस गर्नुभएको अथवा हजुरले हजुरको अर्गनाइजेसनले फेस गर्नुभएको त्यस्ता खालका इन्सिडेन्ट्सलाई चाहिँ हजुरले कुनै त्यसलाई चाहिँ कसरी चाहिँ ह्यान्डल गर्नुभएको, केही कुराहरू सेयर गर्न मिल्ने भए चाहिँ सेयर गर्न मिल्छ कि?
रिसेन्टली चाहिँ त्यस्तो इभेन्ट्सहरू कुनै पनि भएको छैन होइन. अब पहिला चाहिँ अब हामी पनि भनौँ न आजभन्दा ब्याक टु 5-6 इयर्स अगाडि हाम्रो पनि कम्प्लिट आरओएहरू चाहिँ साइन भएको थिएन होइन. अनि त्यो बेला चाहिँ रामजीहरूले नै अवेर गराउनु भएको थियो र त्यही अवेर गराउनु भएपछि हामीले इमिडिएटली नै सबै साइन गरेका थियौँ कि. अब हाम्रो पनि अब अहिले चाहिँ के छ भन्दाखेरि 100% चाहिँ तपाईँको साइन छ कि सबै हाम्रो प्रिफिक्सेसहरू चाहिँ. रिसेन्टली अहिले हामीले त्यस्तो खालको चाहिँ कुनै पनि इस्युजहरू चाहिँ फेस गरेका छैनौँ.
ओके, मेरो त्यही प्रश्न चाहिँ हाम्रो यस्मिन म्यामकोमा चाहिँ मैले वापस गर्न चाहेँ, सेम क्वेसन।
इन्सिडेन्ट ह्यान्डल गर्न त हामी डेफिनेटली केपेबल छौँ होइन। भेरियस डिफ्रेन्ट इन्सिडेन्ट्सहरू ह्यान्डल गरिरहेको हुन्छ टिमहरूले, उनीहरूले म्यानर्सको इम्प्लिमेन्टेसनमा पनि काम गरिरहेको छ अहिले। सो त्यो केपेबिलिटी छ। अब इन्सिडेन्ट नै भएको थियो थिएन, हामीले कसरी ह्यान्डल गर्यो त्यो चाहिँ अहिले मैले भन्न मिल्दैन होला। प्राइमरीली बिकज मसँग त्यो इन्फर्मेसन पनि हुँदैन, किनभने मैले चाहिँ ओभरअल साइबर सिक्योरिटी हेर्छु, स्पेसिफिक राउटिङ भन्दा पनि। सो अहिलेको लागि चाहिँ मैले त्यो भन्न सक्दिनँ होला।
Okay, thank you. I'd like to pass this question to Ramkrishna sir from in the perspective of ISP को perspective बाट सरलाई कसरी एन्सर गर्नुहुन्छ?
धेरै धेरै धन्यवाद सुभाष सर लगायत सम्पूर्ण सरहरूलाई, सरहरू म्यामहरूलाई। अब हामी रियली क्यापेबल नभएको भन्ने कुरा चाहिँ हाम्रो रिपोर्टबाट पनि देखिन्छ कि हामी क्यापेबल छौँ होइन, धेरै कुरामा क्यापेबल छौँ र नेपालको आइएसपी अपरेटरहरू, टेलिकम लगायतको सेक्टरको व्यक्तिहरू एकदमै कोअपरेटिभ हुनुहुन्छ होइन। र धेरै कुराहरू चाहिँ तपाईँको अरू कन्ट्रीको कम्पेरिजनमा हेऱ्यो भने चाहिँ हामी धेरै नै अगाडि छौँ कि अरूको कम्पेरिजनमा। भुटानभन्दा त पछाडि नै छौँ होइन, भुटानभन्दा पछाडि नै छौँ, तर अरू कन्ट्रीको कम्पेरिजनमा हेऱ्यो भने चाहिँ हाम्रो एडप्सन रेट एकदमै हाई छ होइन। र वी आर क्यापेबल, र क्यापेबलको साथसाथै हामी चाहिँ के छौँ भने मोर लर्निङ पार्टमा चाहिँ हाम्रो फोकसहरू पनि छ कि होइन। हामी एकदम पोजिटिभ थिङ्किङमा जान्छौँ र हामीले कुनै पनि काम गर्न एकदम सजिलो छ। सबै आइएसपीहरू, इभन गभर्मेन्ट पनि यसमा एकदम कोअपरेटिभ हुन्छ। हाम्रो रेगुलेटर बडी एनटिए अल्सो एकदम राम्रो कोअपरेटिभ हुनुहुन्छ होइन, जसले गर्दाखेरि चाहिँ यस्ता खालको इन्सिडेन्टहरू भइहाल्यो